It is so nice for you to be able to join us, and I am so very excited for your accomplishments. How does it feel to be the first African-American female valedictorian at Albany High School?
I think definitely when I found out, it was something that kind of shocked me. Considering our school's 152 years old, that's kind of a crazy accomplishment to be in a position to have that privilege to make. I think one of the biggest things that I've been able to learn throughout my life is that a lot of the reason that I know I can be as successful as I can be is because of all the images that I have throughout my life of successful Black women or Black people in my life, including my family, friends, and just mentors in general. So being able to now revert to that position where I can have that same impact on other people is something that's really inspiring just for me to put myself in the context in. And I think one of the most beautiful things that has come out of this is a bunch of new relationships and friendships I've been able to develop of people just reaching out to me that I've never even talked to before and saying that, this accomplishment, it's not just something for me, it's something really for my entire my district, my school, my community. So it's really nice to be able to kind of represent in that way.
So tell me, who are some of your role models specifically? Who are some of the people that you look up to and why?
I think people always like to start with their family. So I have my mom and my grandma who have really been the embodiment of what hard work is. I'm second generation Nigerian, so that ethic of coming from another country, but then just being able to kind of work and be successful and pursue whatever you want to pursue because you love it, but do it well is something that has really inspired me. And then I also have my peers and my friends. I really like learning from other people. I like to be involved in a bunch of different things because that brings a bunch of different perspectives and makes you a more well-rounded person. And then within the school itself, I've been privileged to have an amazing guidance counselor in middle school, Miss Green, and she has the kindest soul of anyone I've ever met, and she's always been an ally and an advocate for me. And then in the field that I personally like to pursue in robotics, I have Mr. Landman, who's been my teacher all 4 years of high school. So he's seen me since I was a little freshman till now, and he's kind of seen me grow in this field that when I entered, I had a little bit of knowledge in it, but I've grown so much from that point. So it's really nice to be able to work with someone that long who really knows my personality and knows my limitations, but also is always willing to kind of show me new ways to expand on that. And then I have my soccer coach, which I'm not a D1 soccer player at all, but I like about him is that he not only taught us, but he always wanted to learn from me, which I feel is so admirable of a quality to have in an adult, because often as a kid you think you only learn from people that are older than you. And so that symbiotic kind of thing, mutual relationship of just learning from one another, I think has made me grow as a person, and I have a lot of respect for that.
That is awesome. And I think it's really nice to see that, especially in a role where you're in, there are many things that you probably know more about than what we know as adults. And so being able to have those adults in your life who are not intimidated to learn from someone much younger, I think that's really inspiring, because what it does is it shows you that you're a lifelong learner. No matter what we do, no matter how old we are, we're always lifelong learners. And so with that, we think about some of the challenges that we may encounter. And you've probably faced some roadblocks. And what are some of those roadblocks that you've been able to break through and overcome? Some of the challenges that you may have faced that you can think of that you would like to share, and how you were able to overcome some of those challenges?
Well, I think in specifics to this situation, mentioning my academics would be one thing. But in the sense that I had to learn to advocate for your own education. That's not necessarily something you might assume you might have to do. But I remember when I was in middle school, I wanted to take a higher level math course, and that was a little bit of a roadblock because it wasn't conventional for middle school students to kind of do that. And so, of course, I didn't do it alone. I had my mom, I had Miss Green, but it was one of those things where I started to learn about how if you want to pursue something, you kind of have to fight for it. And then in terms of just realizing that you also have to seek out opportunities. They don't always just come to you. So I think that's a sentiment that I've shared with some of my peers, where I never wanted to be in the position with other people where they had an opportunity simply because I didn't know about it, or I didn't have an opportunity because I didn't know about it. And so I've always tried to be diligent and proactive about taking my own education by its hands and doing whatever I can on my end to make sure that I'm reaching the expectations that I set for myself. And so in that sense, I think I've learned a lot about not only advocating for yourself, but then advocating for those who don't have people that can advocate for them. And then in another sense, just pursuing a STEAM-related field, there's always a roadblock with that. Being an anomaly sometimes, it's something that I had to become adjusted to. And I've been fortunate with my robotics team in specific that they've always made the space welcome, but you know, embedded stereotypes and systematic things are inevitable sometimes, so it's not necessarily their fault, it's just the way society is sometimes. And so through that kind of lens, I've learned to know my worth and know that I belong in spaces that I had previously thought I didn't.
I think it's great that you have really embraced that whole student voice piece and the whole student advocacy piece, and knowing your voice, knowing exactly who you are and the things that you are determined to do, which is one of the things that I think you have been able to do, is not only enjoy the accomplishment, but recognize the journey, because sometimes it's in that journey that you grow the most, so that when you reach that accolade or you reach that level that you have aspired to get to, it's meaningful because you understand what it takes in order to get there. When you think about those kinds of things in terms of what it takes to get there, how do you think your role now as a valedictorian in the City School District of Albany, how do you think that's going to shape people who come behind you, or those people who may be looking up to you now? What impact do you think you'll have on future generations?
I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I know I've expressed my interest in pursuing medicine, so I know I can pursue medicine because I have a Nigerian pediatrician. I've had that my entire life. I know I can pursue engineering because my aunts and uncles have been in the field. I know that I can work hard because my mom and my grandma have shown me that example. So I know this stuff because I've seen it with my own eyes. And people always say if you can see it, you can be it, and I believe that 100%. I just hope that my example, I'd be able to in turn do what everybody else has done for me. If somebody sees this and says, I don't know, maybe I can pursue my academics a little bit harder, or not even excel in this way, not necessarily be valedictorian, but just set a goal for yourself and say that you want to accomplish this thing and do whatever you can to kind of get there. I just hope that anyone that comes after me also realizes that, you know, you make your impact in whatever capacity it is. It doesn't have to be in academics. Some people excel in sports. Some people are really good public speakers. Some people are really good with music, and that's inspiring. So everyone has their own realm of inspiring other people, and I hope that that's what anyone else coming after me can take from this.
So you bring up the music program. You're in the jazz band. You're also the president of the robotics club. You're the editor of the newspaper. You play soccer. How have all of these diverse, varied experiences and activities played a part in how you view maybe the world, or maybe you view opportunities?
So I think like the best way to put it is varied experience means varied people. The people in all those different things are completely different, and from that you learn different things. From soccer, I learned about, you know, perseverance. You know, our team was really, really close, and I really loved it. Sometimes we didn't win at all, but it was really fun. And I learned about, like, sometimes it's not about winning, it's about the experience. You know, jazz band is something new that I decided to pick up. And through that, I just learned about like having fun and like collaborating with other people and feeding off of like the sounds in the jazz band room. Through robotics, I learned about like accepting other people's creativity and just seeing things like completely different, but then also like witnessing the journey of an idea that starts in your mind and then like making it come into fruition through working on a project for like a couple weeks and then finally being able to compete in that sense. Like that's a high that I experienced throughout high school. I think I've just been able to learn a lot about a lot of life lessons from all these different experiences. And I never did anything I didn't want to do, which I think is important, because it might seem like I did like a bunch of different, you know, crazy activities that might seem unrelated, but they all integrated into something that I enjoyed. Like even with the Nest, like I really enjoyed having a student voice, and even those articles that I wrote were about STEM. They were about like artificial intelligence or like new vaccines coming out. So I always was able to integrate the things that I like into these activities that might seem unrelated, but were related in a sense to me.
Very nice. Awesome. It is great to have this conversation with you. I am so very proud of you. I wish you all the best, and thank you so very much for being able to sit with me and talk with me today. Thank you so much. Ms. Otitigbe, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for joining me today in this conversation. I know that you are so very proud of Onovu, and we are so very proud of her as well. Talk to us a little bit about how proud you are of your daughter.
Oh my goodness. There are really no words, because Onovu, we call her Onovu for short. Her full name is Onovu Gapa. It means who can predict what life can bring. And to see her in her senior year and accomplish this feat of being recognized as the first Black valedictorian for Albany High School after 152 years, it's beyond amazing, and I'm truly honored, to be her mom. I think that's all my all my accomplishments pale, in comparison to just knowing that, I'm Onovu Gapa's mom, and I truly, truly treasure that. And
So what was she like as a child? When she was a little one, did you think that this would happen? Did you always know that she would be the valedictorian? Did you always know that this is what was in the plan for her? What was she like as a child?
Onovu was destined, I know, for greatness in so many things. She, started walking when she was 1. She started talking when she was about 1.5, 2. She was always asking questions, why? We're driving places and she's always asking questions about the colors, the shapes, and we had different games that we'd play when we were driving, throughout the time that she was growing up. So I knew that she always wanted to figure out how things worked. She always wanted to figure out, what's the solution to this, and as she started to get older and kind of get into school, I remember one of the things I told her when she was getting ready for kindergarten, she was going to a new school and she was nervous about that. And one of the things I told her is I said, you need to let people know your name. And so we did a little bit of role playing at home, and I got her a little reporter's notebook. And I said, okay, how are you going to introduce yourself to people? And you need to work the room. And for the district, they usually had a for kindergarten students, they had them come to the school a week before school would start with a meeting in the cafeteria. And I said, okay, you're gonna go to this cafeteria. I'm going to sit here. Here's a notebook. And you need to go and introduce yourself to 5 people. So it's, hi, my name is Onovu, what's yours? And then write their name down. And I remember when she was going, there's also still a part of me that's like, that's my baby that's, heading off to kindergarten. But I said I need to give her that sense of empowerment so that she can start to, go through these experiences on her own. And she walked around and met 5 people and found 2 people that were going to be in her class. And I said, okay, now go back and find 5 more. And we did that, and I think she ended up finding about 5 or 6 students that were going to be in her kindergarten class. The beauty of that is that the first day of school, the parents came and said, oh, your daughter Onovu introduced herself to us. And a lot of those kids that she went through elementary school with, and then middle school with, and high school with, these are the same students that she was in classes with. These are the same students that she was in soccer with. These are the same students that she was in, all the different activities that she mentioned with. And that's just beautiful to see. And that was just her. She just enjoyed asking questions and a love and passion for learning.
And building relationships early on. And you probably thought that, as children, they probably think, why is my mom making me do this? But look at where we are now, and it helps to understand that when you walk into a room, you can immediately create comfort by building those relationships and connections. So speaking of connections, she comes from a long line of Albany High graduates, and you yourself are an Albany High graduate.
Yes.
And she has plenty of role models within the family. How have you seen things change from your lens of when you were at Albany High and the things that she's gone through now? What are some of the opportunities that you see that may be different from when you were at school as well as when she was at school?
I think, my siblings all went through the Albany school system, so elementary, middle, and high school. And when I think back to my time, I was more of a liberal arts person. Math and science were difficult for me to connect with. It was a challenge, and I don't think that I had as many opportunities. I also didn't seek as many opportunities because that wasn't an area of interest to me. But you would find me in the photography lab. You know, you would find me, I worked for the Nest, you know, and wrote for the Nest at some point. So you found me in more of those creative spaces during my time at high school. And, you know, in terms of the offerings from a STEAM perspective, you know, those are things that I was not aware of. And I think that's just because my interest was more in the liberal arts. You know, fast forward to, you know, Onovu starting school, I intentionally said that I really wanted her to have a solid foundation in STEM. You know, I really wanted her to understand science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Her dad is a music teacher and a musician, so I know that there has always been that interest in the arts. She loves to sing, you know, she loves to play music. She started taking piano lessons when she was about 4 years old, so all of these things were important to me. And so when I look at Albany High, the experience that she's had, the wealth of experience with, you know, the different clubs, the different organizations, the music, you know, the opportunities in robotics. I mean, she started doing robotics in middle school, you know, as soon as she got to Myers. And just the breadth of opportunities that she was able to pursue that filled all her passions in all those fields. I'm truly grateful for that experience. And I personally am just an advocate of the public school system. You know, I think that when you're able to carve out opportunities and create these cohorts, these allies of networks, you know, between the teachers, you know, the coaches, and then, you know, the guidance counselors, you can try to find and navigate a way to, you know, help your child, you know that there are so many things that the school can offer.
What are your aspirations for your daughter in the future?
Oh my goodness. You know, Onovu is, and I think for any parent, you want your child, you know, to do the best. And you always assume and know that your children are going to do much better and achieve much greater things, you know, than you. And I think that's important. I want Onovu to continue to be unapologetically herself. You know, I want Onovu to continue to be happy. I want, you know, I want her to, you know, just know that, you know, any room or any space that she goes into, she deserves to be in that space because she's worked so hard to be in that space. And in terms of what she decides to do, you know, I wholeheartedly support her in her next journey when she heads off to college. I have no doubt that, you know, she's going to, you know, find her niche and you know, we'll have another story to tell.
Very nice. I have one more question. And that question is, who were your role models? Because you are obviously a fantastic mom and you have given so much to your daughter. Who were your role models?
Oh, now you want to make me cry. You know, I think my role models I would mostly say is my mom. You know, and then I think also my siblings. You know, my parents are from Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria. You know, came here we moved here when I was probably about 10 or 11. And, you know, the reason why, you know, many immigrants will decide to come to America is that they want a better life for their children. You know, they want better opportunities for their children. So when I look at my parents and the sacrifices that they made, you know, coming to the United States and, you know, deciding to set up roots in the different places that we lived. We moved to Illinois first, and then from Illinois, Massachusetts, and then finally settling in Albany. You know, there are a lot of sacrifices that our parents make on our behalf, and those sacrifices are to give us a better life. My mom has always been a hard worker. She's a businesswoman. It's funny, you know, she was the kind of person who said, anything you're doing, do it right the first time or don't do it at all. Education was something that we knew was important. She wasn't the kind of person to say, you have to get up and go to school. We knew that we had to go to school. And the expectation is that you're going to excel and do what you need to do. She supported us in our choice of fields. So we have, you know, my siblings are engineers, educators, you know, writers, and, you know, I've been in the field of communications and public relations. So, I would say that my mom, and then also my siblings, as well. It's like growing up with siblings, you don't really think about, the beauty of having siblings around. But then when you start to see, and as you get older, the opportunities that you have when you just kind of see their excitement about the areas that they're interested in focusing on, how they approach school, and how they also look to create a space for themselves, that to me is really inspiring and encouraging.
What does this experience mean to both of you?
Onovu, the journey into high school has been nothing short of amazing. As any parent, as your child is going through elementary, middle, and then eventually into high school, that high school is going to determine, kind of what their next step is going to be after 4 years. And so having her enter high school, it was really important to me that, this was a space where she was going to really have to learn to advocate for herself more. Mom cannot be the person that's sending emails and requesting meetings with teachers or guidance counselors or principals. And so, for me to see Onovu come full circle with this accomplishment of being recognized as the first Black valedictorian for Albany High School after 152 years, it's beyond amazing. I think there are many days where I'm just kind of like, wow, this happened, and it's amazing to just see it unfold. But I think the other beautiful thing about this is that the love that has enveloped our family, and especially Onovu, and the emails and the phone calls and the text messages from people within the Capital Region community of all ages who are, congratulating her and supporting her, and even the students who are, approaching her at various times to say, wow, this makes me want to do better. And so I hope that, for the students that are still, remaining and continuing their education, I hope that they know that there are so many resources. I hope they're encouraged to pursue and build allies, with their teachers and their guidance counselors and coaches and others. And I hope that they know that they are students of promise. And I know Onovu's the first. I know she won't be the last. And I look forward to seeing the many other students of color, and not just students of color, but other students, as well, women too, and all our minority students that will, reach the same level of achievement.
I guess what I'd have to say is, like, in school you always learn about the first, you always learn about the first person to, break some type of barrier, as a woman, as a person of color, as a person in general, and so to be able to kind of have that title now as the first person to do something, that's insane. That's crazy to put myself in that context. But I think that what I've learned the most is about the significance of your actions and the legacy that you leave behind places. And so I think operating with that sense of thinking about how will me being in this space impact people and how will it impact them positively, I think has become really, really important to me. And so I'd hope that out of anything, that's my takeaway, that you have the ability to impact the spaces that you're in, and you really can dictate what kind of impact that is.